Regie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. I am thoroughly pumped to be doing this recording right now because I finally have an opportunity to announce a project that I have been working on for quite some time. A few years ago, I realized that we have a tremendous amount of information and data at our fingertips as comic book collectors, investors, and also speculators. And I'm very thankful that we have access to such great information that helps us to figure out what is happening in our very dynamic market. And over time, what I've also come to realize is that the comic book market is becoming more and more dynamic. And it's happening because of all of the great news that comes out almost daily on something being optioned or some movie or TV show coming out or some trailer dropping. But when you think about it, a lot of the data that we have access to comes in the form of lists, and it comes in the form of essentially sales data. In many ways, sales data is what has already happened, and we try to look at these data to try to predict what comes next. What I've been focused on over the last few weeks is trying to figure out potentially how we can swim upstream and have some leading indicators that will tell us potentially what the future will actually be, and to do it in a prospective type of manner instead of using the hindsight sales data. So to this end, I have partnered up with the folks at CGC, and what we are going to be doing is taking CGC data, specifically books that have been submitted in by the community to CGC for the purpose of grading. I'm going to be getting this data and doing an ongoing video series to let you know what books have been sent in to CGC. And again, in many ways, this will be a leading indicator because books first have to be received and graded long before these books can actually be sold. So one important thing to note is that I will be getting this data based upon books that have been submitted to CGC. So this is before those books will even be loaded to the publicly available CGC database for people to be able to access there. So my hope is that this information moving forward will be helpful to the community to kind of sort of know what's happening before it actually happens. Now, there are, of course, a few caveats to this. When I do the top 10 submitted books, I'm not going to be providing absolute numbers for the individual books that have been submitted in. I will be providing a prioritized list of those books from the 10th book all the way down to the number 1 or most submitted book. The other thing to keep in mind is that there are a lot of reasons why books are actually graded. A lot of times people grade books for their personal collection, and yes, some books ultimately are graded for the purpose of being able to sell them. The other part, of course, is that this is really focused on graded comics and not necessarily raw comics or raw comic book sales. So again, just a few kind of, caveats that I want to throw out for people. As we continue to move deeper into this thing and start releasing these reports, which are affectionately known as the Regie Report, I will try to provide additional context and texture and caveats where it is needed. And to that point, I will also tell you that what we are trying to do is to actually roll up whenever there is a comic that has multiple variants, roll up into one line item that book so as to not misrepresent or double count a book that has multiple variants that might also be submitted into CGC. So what comes next? That is like the big question. At present, I have 2 data sets in my possession. The first are the top books that were submitted in December of 2020. The second, the top books submitted in January of 2021. I am very quickly, in short order, going to be releasing 2 separate videos with those data for you to check out. And then moving forward, hopefully on a regular cadence, I will be releasing additional videos with what is happening possibly every 2 weeks with submissions into CGC. I'm still trying to work out some of the details, but you absolutely have my commitment that additional information and data will be forthcoming. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.